Test one. Good evening. Welcome, everyone, to our Wow Wednesday. My name's Elaine Laroa, and I'll be your guide for the next 2 hours as I present for you a program called Who Have You Come Here to Be? Tonight is an introduction to the quantum living class and process that we do here as part of our shadow work, our collective community shadow work, and so that we all can have a common language and a common tool or medicine, if you would, to be able to interact with each other and to actually be in community with one and each other as we are bumping shoulders and learning to grow and expand into the people that we have come here to be. So I know in many, many spiritual communities, how many of you have how many have, by show of hands, have taken quantum living process before? Fabulous. And how many maybe have just done just the intro class before? Okay, great. So welcome the newcomers that are here as well. And we've got a young one newcomer as well, too. So the beauty about this course is that even if you've been on a spiritual journey or a path for a long time, being an interfaith community, we have many of us who have different traditions, different therapies, different ways of handling maybe past traumas, or just maybe finding ways to deal with the crisis and the way the world is today. So what we hope to do is, as a community, have a shared common language. And quantum living is just one of the many ways that we work to basically have a common language with one another, to be able to understand and to be able to have compassion, not just for others, but more importantly, for yourselves. So how many people can do with a little more self-love and a little more compassion, right? So it's my pleasure to guide you in the next couple of hours. And so for those of you who are joining us online, we're happy to have you. There are some handouts that we gave out here in the class, and we also have them linked to the event, and you will also find them under the events tab. And Lucas, our wonderful sound tech, will also make sure that that is in the live stream chat, so you have access of that as well. So just to go over some of the program objectives, we talked a little bit about what we are here for, but I always want to tell you what's in it for me, right? Why spend 2 hours of your precious time to be with one another and having this opportunity to put more tools in your spiritual toolbox? Well, we're here to look at ways that we can increase this capacity, as I talked about, to live with more purpose and with more joy. An opportunity as well to awaken to this inherent wholeness. And if you feel like many of us, I know me on even my best days, wholeness may not be how I feel I am. I might be more walking around like a sift with holes everywhere, right? So it's like trying to find out what makes me incomplete, and where is my energy flowing that I want to call back, and where are the pieces of me that life took bites out of that I'd like to bring back into wholeness. We also have that opportunity to talk about being our expressive, authentic self and what that reward really looks like. So how many of us feel that sometimes we have masks, and maybe it's based on the roles we play? You're the daughter, you're the wife, you're the caretaker, you're the one that your friends call every time their life falls apart, or you're the one who, when people need money, they come to you, or you're the one that you just have, if somebody needs to kick a rock, you're the perfect punching bag, right? So we're going to look at what that looks like by saying, is that my authentic self, or have I just become comfortable playing a role in my family dynamics, my workplace dynamics, my personal friendship dynamics, and is that working for you, or is it just the way that life is? So we have a chance to look at those empowering questions, and ultimately it's really about us having this opportunity to tap into this wholeness, to tap into the wisdom that we have in our hearts, And being a New Thought community, we will always talk about the power and the heart center of tapping into the muscle that actually has the highest intelligence, that actually runs. We all like to think that it's our brains that are all about the business, but science and neuroscience and new modern brain science will tell you that it's actually your heart. Your heart is the master control. And somehow we've gotten that disconnect. Because if you're in your heart, it also means you're in that connection with those feelings. Feelings. And it's often easier to stay in the heart space and disconnected from your heart, stay in the head space and disconnected from the heart space if being with feelings are uncomfortable for you. So we're going to talk about what's missing when that connection is not there, is not easy and free flowing. So shared agreements for tonight. It is a 2-hour class. WOW is usually 1 hour, so I hope that's not a surprise to anyone who's here tonight. So in that time period, I just ask that you stay present and stay focused. We will have an opportunity to be doing worksheets and exercises, which will give you a chance to self-care and take a break. If you don't know where the restrooms are, feel free to do that, but there'll be obviously times that I may actually have us as a community take a quick break at the top of that hour. I ask that you also refrain from judgment and giving advice, being open to this process, because we are going to tap into things about your shadow work or your unconscious. And tonight is a time, quite frankly, that you will have to spend in that internal deep work with yourself. So be kind to yourself. And when I say don't judge, that means don't judge your own thoughts, or give yourself the opportunity to be authentic with yourself. There's too many things that pull from us on a day-to-day basis. I mentioned all those hats and all those roles that we play in other people's lives. But for the next 2 hours, give yourself permission for you to be the most important person in the room. For you to actually have an opportunity to go into your heart space, to really listen to what you need or what's coming up. Maybe it's the little boy, the little girl in you tonight that has said, this is the 2 hours that I've been trying to catch your attention as you've been out there with that social mask and being that well put together person who's out in the world, making things happen on a day-to-day basis. So know that that's here for you tonight. So take care of yourself. We will do some exercises. And as always, you have, in the vein of taking care of yourself, the right to pass. So there'll be opportunities, I might say, to share with somebody next to you. If that's not comfortable, that is completely fine and safe for you to be however this process will work most for you. So know that that's an option. And if you are sharing with one another, remember, we are live streaming this tonight, so if you have an opportunity and wish to share in public, know that that will be the case. But if you just want to be, share what you want to, share with what's comfortable. Again, this is meant to be the safe space in this container that we're going to create with each other tonight. So hold those confidence as you are hearing from other people who are willing to share their hearts about what they discover. And we will wait on also, thank you for those who saw. I'll just mention at the top of the hour, all of our WOW Wednesdays are brought by Spiritual Life Center, and we're happy to further our mission to help transform lives, to make a positive difference in the world as we love, serve, and remember. So I already appreciate anyone who has already put money in the love offering, and the basket will just be available at the end of the service as well for you to support us in that way. So let's go ahead and just get heart-centered so we can get ready for this evening. So if you haven't already, just put your papers down and put your feet flat on the floor and take with me some deep breaths in. Deep breath in, hold, and then let it out. Let's do that 2 more times together. Deep breath in. Hold. and let it out. And one more time. Take breath in, hold, and let it out. Feel yourself now supported in your chair. Continue to breathe comfortably. With every deep breath in, visualize yourself calling back into your body all the pieces of you and the energy that you've released throughout the day. Parts of you still thinking of tasks that still need to be done. Breathe back in the parts of you that were left in conversations or confrontations. Breathe yourself back in. And with every exhale, release what is no longer yours. Release the tension you may be holding in your shoulders. Release the fatigue of after a long day. Exhale out that any sense of anxiety or consciousness of what tonight's program may bring. For this is a safe space. Your soul is welcome here. And you are here by divine appointment. So I ask you to visualize and imagine tonight a grounding cord at your base chakra, at the bottom of your tailbone, and feel that just going down now through the chair that's holding you, into the floor, boring down into the earth, until you see this beautiful grounding cord connected in the center of the earth with Mother Gaia. As it clicks in place, feel yourself connected to this pulsing energy that supports you. With each breath in, see that grounding cord come from that core, Mother Earth, divine feminine energy. You are plugged in, and feel it now coming towards you and filling you from below. Now visualize and imagine about a foot above your head, a glowing ball of molten, beautiful, flaming gold. This is the divine masculine energy. From source energy in the universe above. See yourself reaching up to that ball and just squeezing it to see that energy fall all through you, surrounding you. And now you know you are held by the very universe, surrounded by, filled from within with divine masculine, divine feminine energy. You are a spark of this source. And tonight we see your heart chakra opening. We see all of your chakras being filled open to the unveiling, open to the awareness, gentle and loving, to ask with an open heart, an open mind, who have I come here to be? And what may be holding me back from being all that I am? Thank you, sweet spirit, for this opportunity in this beautiful collective energy and safe container we have just created together to be on this journey of self-discovery. And for this, we are grateful. And so it is, and so it will be. Amen. Thank you. Well, tonight, we want to look at what do we want to have at this end of this day? What do we want to have in this life experience? When we ask that question, who did I come here to be? And Bronnie Ware was a hospice nurse, and she would work with people who were dying, and she would interview them, and she wrote a book. And she found that there were 5 things that all the people that were dying at the end of their life had 5 major regrets. And she shares that one was, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected me to have. The second was, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. The third was, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. The fourth was, I wish I would have stayed in touch with my friends. And the last was, and not least, was, I wish that I had let myself be happier. And they really realized that happiness was a choice that they had to make every day, and most of them chose not, more often than not, to be happy. Well, if that's what we don't want to have at the end of the day, as we say in Unity, we're all about affirmations and denials. So if that's what we don't want to happen, what might we want to affirm? So if we wanted to actually achieve those things, what might be the affirmation? So the 5 that Bonnie came up with was, I need to honor my dreams. Honor my dreams. I want to ask, am I living at least for me and not everybody else's expectations? Do I live my priorities? Am I doing the things I want to do, or am I doing what is expected? And then, am I living authentically? Am I being myself, or am I censoring myself? Do I wear those masks, those social masks, or am I actually vulnerable? Do I have the courage to even speak up and speak my mind, or express my love, or express my hurt? How many of us feel that oftentimes we can be hurt in a situation, but whatever role, or if we're looking at the ways this world teaches what's expected, little boys don't cry, little girls don't get mad, all those different norms, and let alone cultural norms that might happen, depending on what ethnic background or familiar family structures you've come from. Did you nurture my connections? That's what I want to do. Will you nurture your connections and make time for those you love and for the things you love? And at the end of the day, can you choose happiness? Well, I think those are great goals. I don't think anyone here would deny that those are good goals, but the question becomes, what gets in the way of us actually achieving them? And for us to be able to look at that, we have to actually look at that question. of what is my identity and what might block me from having this fulfilled life and having those life experiences. I talked about how it's easy to see people in a crowd and try to fit in. It's always hard for people to come into a new environment, even if it's here at Spiritual Life Center, which is a loving environment, or to fit in your family. Maybe you feel sometimes I'm the odd person out. But it's interesting because you see people and they always look well put together, like a beautiful basket of apples, and you just see, oh, everybody looks shiny and everybody looks perfect. When the reality is, if everybody looked on the other side, there might be something else that you might see, right? But we have, remember again, that mask of that looking to be perfect or looking to be what other people want me to be. And then you talk about what if in the basket of apples you're the orange? You don't even feel like you belong to those different things. And the reality is, every one of us, no matter what our background, what our age, our economic background, our diversity, our sexual orientation, life happens because we're all in this human race. We're all spiritual beings having this human experience. And all of us have a lifetime that takes little bites out of us and leaves us less than whole. So tonight we get that chance of seeing how do you define and how do you see yourself. So let's take a look at that. This work is going to ask you, who are you really? What makes you uniquely you? How do you see yourself personally? Maybe it's been a while since you even had the self-reflection to ask yourself, who am I and what do I actually think about myself? Tonight, that might be kind of interesting because oftentimes we look outside of ourselves for our own self-affirmations, our own self-worth. If the person I really respect thinks highly of me, then I must be good, right? And then how can it also feel the imposter syndrome, where other people will say, oh, Elaine's so wonderful, and Elaine is this and so nice, and the imposter syndrome comes in when it's like, if they lived in my head and could hear the thoughts that I say about myself, or maybe the thoughts I'm thinking about others, they may not actually think those nice things about me, right? And then it becomes the situation of, am I good enough? Am I lovable? Am I adequate? Am I even belong? Right? So these are the questions, and then you wonder, am I the only one who has this monkey chatter going through my mind? So that's a great opportunity for us to have a question about these powerful questions, but also to recognize that it's a common humanity. But it starts by us looking at what our operating system is. So how many people have computers at home or their phones and everything? Okay, great. So here's the thing. Imagine us our hardwares. It's our hardware. And we have our own internal operating systems. So how many people here are like Mac people? That you could tell in the room, the iPhone people versus the Android people, right? Either way you do it, your operating system is going to basically dictate how it works. Well, you have an operating system. I have an operating system. And our operating system is our default. It's going to tell us how we operate. It's going to guide us on what makes us work. It's going to tell us inside maybe your operating systems will say how many hours of sleep I have to have. Maybe your operating system will tell you what you're allergic to. These are things you cannot put in your body. So operating systems, you might have picked up along the way some beliefs about what is safe and what you can or cannot do. So we need to know what our operating system is. And the thing about this operating system is that it becomes for us whatever your entire life experience is going to be based on what that software is running. So, and the interesting thing about it is it will also dictate how you work well. Everyone will know, anybody ever have a computer virus where your operating system isn't working, it doesn't do anything right. And you are the same way. There's certain things that if your operating system is not being done, we get our own bugs. If you get a cold, your operating system goes down and you're not able to operate at your full potential. But the thing that we need to realize is whatever those thought systems are become your worldview. You know, Einstein said that we either believe we live in a universe that is vast and that is friendly and that supports us, or we believe that it's against us. And depending on that worldview will dictate how you navigate this world. And so that ends up being, if you get that filter, and we know what those again, that becomes that overall filter about how you say things. And this is important because we're seeing even right now on the national level that there are worldviews that are colliding among countries right now. Are there not? There are worldviews that make a difference just even in our own country with how people are to be treated. One viewpoint of what is one and what makes us different. Is there separation or is there unity? So this is so important that we get down to and we take that time to really look at what's really going on, not just within us, but then being able to see how it's reflected, not just on an individual level for you, but then how we operate in the next level in our community, how we operate as a country, and how we operate in the world together. So these are the components of an operating system. And they deal with some parts that are actually conscious or even subconscious. So we have our beliefs, the thoughts that we just keep thinking, our values, our memories, and our attachments and aversions. When I think about attachments and aversions, has anybody ever been just like deathly ill of something? Maybe it was a food allergy or you overate. Maybe it was one of your most favorite things, but if you get too much of it, it's not a good thing type of a deal. And what happens when you have that experience, maybe it was a bad hangover after a night of tequila shots, because I've been there. So what ends up happening is your body literally remembers it to the point that I can see the bottle and I feel what that night of fun resulted in. So those become locked in. Those attachments and those memories all become part of your operating system. And when you are faced with another choice or a decision, it's amazing how you automatically make decisions based on what's running in your subconscious. But there's also an aspect of your operating system that's actually biological. And all those things together, those values or beliefs, then start running what's called neural pathways. So these are studies on brain science, which starts telling you, if somebody tells you over and over that you're a bad boy, you heard it all your life, don't do that, you bad boy, do this, you bad boy, you bad girl, your brain starts putting neural pathways, and it just starts becoming an actual automatic biological beliefs. It's biologically ingrained in your brain that is how you see yourself. That is the response. So what happens is when you build those neural pathways, it just jumps right into it. Somebody may not even say anything. It's just there's that look, that same look. There's that frown, a look of disappointment. And it can come from any place, anywhere, years later. But if a pattern has been born into your brain, that it has done it over and over and over again, and that over again and over again can actually be your belief about yourself when an original triggering moment happened. So maybe it was just a teacher when you were in school, or a mean kid on the playground who called you stupid. But the problem is the next time you did a math problem and didn't get it right and your teacher corrected you, your brain said to yourself, I'm stupid. The next time you did something else, you said it again. There was 2 little neural pathways. Oh, I didn't get that job or that promotion. Well, of course, because I'm stupid, right? So it's interesting that sometimes neural pathways might have been ingrained not by outside people, but your own belief and your own repetitive owning a false belief that happened originally, and then you repeating it to yourself over and over and over until it became a biological belief system in your brain, filed as your identity, but false from the very beginning. So these are important things if we got to figure out how do we find those things. And then nervous system habits, that's the other biological thing. Does somebody have any phobias in this room? I have a fear of heights. Anyone else, like snakes or anything like that? Small spaces, claustrophobia, yeah, right? So what happens is your nervous system actually has those phobias and has those systems. And so what ends up happening is that, again, these are not even conscious. You don't even have an opportunity. If you're afraid of heights or closed circumstances, you don't have a chance to think. It just happens. Your entire body reacts. And it's not even anything my first time I was totally deathly afraid of heights was as a little girl. I think I was about 5 or 6. It was a Swiss Family Robinson treehouse in Disneyland in LA. And happily running up the thing, following my older brother and sister to the top of the treehouse. And you're just kids. Everybody's running up there and you're happy. And then I got to the top, and then my brother and sister were faster and they were going down. And all of a sudden, I'm 6 years old at the top of the treehouse, and down my brother and sister go, and I was frozen. And I couldn't move. And I got down on the ground and I just huddled, and kids were running past me. My brother and sister realize I get down to the bottom. They meet my parents there, and my parents goes, "Where's Elaine?" And then they had to go wait and come all the way back up to come get me. But I have been traumatized about the fear of heights since that time. It took me a long time to even go back to figure out when was the first time I had a traumatic fear of heights. But I can tell you now, I've had friends take me in different places. You go to those bridges that have no glass, have glass bridges, and over the Grand Canyon or things like that. And you can bribe me with anything you want, and I am on my knees crying like a little baby because I am just deathly afraid of it. But there are ways when you realize there's no fear, you're safe, it's nothing about that we can take action if you can actually try to figure out why. And some people here know that, I can see some folks here that a few years ago, I made myself go do zip lining and climb a rope, because I was like, I've got to get over this fear of heights. I've got to do it because it doesn't make any sense. And it impacted me probably the biggest professionally, in a 3-piece suit, young professional, and I'm in Washington, D.C. with my boss, and we're taking the subway, and we get off the get off the metro in Washington, D.C., and we're supposed to take the elevator up, which is usually not a problem, but the elevator is broken, and we have to take an escalator that's up like vertical 3 stories. And this 30-year-old professional in my business suit and heels and briefcase cried into the back of my boss's suit for a terrifying 10-minute ride up an escalator. So we took a cab back to the office. So when there are things like that where that doesn't work for me, you never know, or where you get left out, but what are these things that are just running in my mind that keeps me from having life in a full-blown experience? So that was just one of those things. So I'm asking you tonight, we're going to look at, what do you know what your settings are? Some of you may be well aware. Some of you may have been on the spiritual journey of self-reflection. But tonight, that's what we're here to do. We're going to in a loving and a fun way, we're going to take this opportunity to just say, what are some of the things that my settings are? Do they work for me? And at the end of the day, are there any of them that I'd like to change? If there was a way, would I be willing? For some of us, we have maybe learned to adapt. We've been learned to really do well, and that's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. The question becomes, we're survivors, and you should pat yourself on the back if you've been able to adapt and find different ways to make it through this life. I talk about often, traumas or past experiences, and you put on a backpack, and it was like, that relationship and that divorce and that family matter, and you just learn to carry a backpack with you, as heavy as it might be, and then you might decide, well, it's hard to even drive, so I'm gonna adjust things in my life so there's room for the backpack, right? And then you might realize, my backpack is just filled with relationship trauma, one bad relationship after another. So then you actually get to the point of, no more relationships because there's just no more room and no more weight for that. So now your answer of adapting is, I just don't do relationships anymore. I don't do family anymore. What are all the things that you cut out because you have enough weight from trauma and past experiences that you're carrying? So tonight's the question is maybe it's time to unpack maybe one or two things from that backpack. And how would you navigate life? Would it be less burdensome? Would it be lighter? What things would you do differently if you could get rid of the baggage you've been pulling and carrying all along? So we're going to look at those because at the end of the day, your operating system impacts everything, and it impacts how you show up at work. Is this you? It's not me most days. It looks at how you parent. How do you parent your children, or how are you just in relationships? Your operating system is going to dictate how do you handle success. Do you celebrate it, or do you wait? Do you self-sabotage your success? And it also talks about how you handle your challenges. And especially in what we're doing today in our own worldview, it also talks about how we relate to terrors or how we relate to traumas, and we're seeing more and more of that every day. So what happens when your operating system then is under stress? And it's seeming here, especially in America, all the statistics about what level of stress, what we even consider normal daily stress, it makes us really want to take a look at that, even as a cultural norm. I remember as a kid hearing friends tell me about, we got to go to Mexico, and my friends, I thought they were just kidding about siestas, about how people take naps every day, and I'm thinking, I live in the wrong country. What? So, we start thinking about what we as Americans just say, this is what being American is like. We work all these hours, you get up, you pay taxes, and then you die. You work, you pay taxes. And so those are kind of, again, belief systems or expectations that we get to say, does that work for me? Am I part of that system? Is there a way? Is there another way that could actually serve me better? Because at the end of the day, what happens when your operating system stresses out? Or if you know your computer, if you have a virus or in your computer, what happens? Does it work optimally? No. It actually stops working. Even the things you expect it to do, everyday things. Maybe you can't even get out of bed anymore. Maybe you never go out anymore. You don't go to family gatherings. Oh, that's a nightmare. What are the things that used to be normal, but if now your body is under stress and your whole life history, that backpack is heavy, it will dictate where you are and how you view the world and how you interact with all the brand new things and people that come into your worldview. And it's interesting because at the end of the day, we just get to that point of either being in fight or flight. That's the way we're wired in this human experience. And it's really meant in optimal levels to protect us. Back in the days of the saber-toothed tigers, our whole body would actually biologically go, it's time to run and not be eaten. Right? But nowadays, you see a social gathering and, your mind goes, danger, danger. I'm going to have anxiety by walking in that room, a bunch of strangers. And our body reacts as if it's life or death. It's a real reaction. It's all the chemicals that happen. And then we just crash. We crash and we freeze and it slows. And then you get up again and you think, gosh, you know what? It just makes me really think about it. It's amazing. All of us should be amazed that we got up this morning. And then look at you. You were here for a 2-hour class from 7 to 9. Rock stars, all of you. So if we're in that sense of this presence of a perceived threat, just puts us in this automatic defense mechanism. And what happens in that state when we're just interacting with everybody on a day-to-day basis is biologically we have no more access to creative thinking and we have no access to our heart wisdom. When you are in fight or flight physically, where you need to defend yourself, I need to protect myself, I need to make sure I survive this perceived attack that someone is putting on me or the circumstance that's against me. When your body is in that, it shuts down. It's not thinking about, what kind of creative thought can happen right now? No. It's not saying, let's drop into our heart and have a feel-good moment. And yet in your heart is where all the intelligence is to get you through it. So you've got literally your biology working and shutting down the very core of you that is the antidote to the circumstance and the situation. So if we can see this, if we can see in many, many, many ways, we're just living in high alert. We're just living in high alert. And we're asking ourselves, how can we live in this way? How are we ever going to survive if we're always in this high alert state? And how can we actually then reach our full potential, which is what we had offered at the very beginning of why we would want to look at this shadow work. Because at the end of the day, what is your potential? What's your purpose? And who are you really? There was a video linked late to the event description that talked about us being the one. And the reality is when we came, you were perfectly the one. You came into this world ready, willing, your spirit with a plan. And it was interesting, not one of you, if I came here saying, oh, yay, I came to this world to be dysfunctional. I came to this world to be codependent. Yeah. I came to this world to be an addict or to be abusive or to be a narcissist. Yeah. That's why my soul came, right? Not a one of you. And the interesting thing is we came to this world fully dependent for love and protection by our caretakers. And God bless them. This is not a time to blame or shame anyone who was our caregivers. Everyone came doing the best they can. Everyone came, as I showed you earlier, as the orange or the apple that's missing of the whole, because all of this information was never changed. Everyone was raised by someone who was doing the best they can with what they knew and what they have. But at the end of the day, you're still that beautiful being looking for that love and that protection. And then if it didn't happen, these fundamental needs of a child, if these beliefs didn't happen, then that belief of I'm the one, I came here to be all these amazing things, if you didn't get that love and protection, then you came up with your own stories. You came up with, I am not okay, and I'm not good enough, and I'm not safe, and life is against me. And there's some point, it doesn't matter who you are, whether it was meant to be or not, every one of us as children had a time, a circumstance that made us feel a lack of love was not there or a lack of protection wasn't there. Doesn't matter if it was a schoolyard bully, if it was some other traumatic incident. It could have even been a completely unintentional circumstance, but it puts you as a young child in a situation where you came up with those feelings. All of a sudden you're separate. You've got to take care of yourself. You have to be in control. And that answer becomes, the message is, we're not one. We're not all one. We're not all protected. There's an us and there's a them. And some of those thems are very scary. And some of thems can't be trusted. And oh my gosh, I'm not safe. Life is against me. So I've got to be in control. If I'm not in control, being in control is the only way I'm going to make sure I'm safe. There's nothing wrong with that. That's us surviving. That's us surviving. So we've got to look at those innumerable impressions where we came up with that and realizing that all of us, that is the human condition. All of us have these impressions. So none of us are typically walking around with this view of I'm the one, but rather I am not the one. And in fact, we have a life experience that tells us that I'm not only not the one, but I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, I'm powerless, and I'm inadequate. Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Yourself, will talk about all the people who have come, all of their physical ailments. She tied in their belief systems and how beliefs actually tied into sicknesses, physically manifesting based on your belief systems. And she actually said it really didn't matter. People would come in and say, I'm having a problem with my hip, I have a problem with kidney stones, I have a problem with rashes, all these physical ailments. And she would listen to the stories over and over and over, and then she would basically go, so I can tell you right now, which one is it? Is it you are not good enough, unworthy, powerless, or inadequate? Just pick one. One of them missing here is unlovable, because it narrowed down to almost anything and everything was going to come down to that. Those core issues that came from core lacks of needs that weren't met. The need for love and the need for protection. So we're going to take a look at what happens when life just happens to us. It is a human condition and it's a shared condition. It doesn't matter how well put together you think anyone walking next to you or sitting next to you looks. I promise you, we all have this human condition. We just cover it up maybe better than other people, right? And so the idea becomes, why does it have to be a badge of shame? Why can't it be a discussion as if it's something that we all know we share, and we share the tools and the common languages so that I can see you for who I know you are, because you can even tell me, Elaine, this is who I came here to be. And I can have compassion when you're not being that, when you're actually being that shadow side. And that's what we're going to walk out with today. Because remember that operating system I told you about? What happens when it gets those shadow beliefs? Then all of a sudden, your operating system, if you took out the word hour and you put in the word shadow, your operating system that is running consciously and subconsciously is part now of your biology, your neural pathway, and your physical nervous system way of working, is now running on some shadow beliefs. Are you unworthy? Are you not good enough? Are you inadequate? You're going to have some shadow values too. You're going to have, not only are your memories, they're going to be distorted memories. How many of you have, in your family gatherings, all of your siblings can witness the same thing, and then when you debrief it and say, can you believe that happened? You and your sister and your brother have completely different viewpoints of what just happened in that room. Completely. That happens in my family a lot. It's like, were we in the same conversation? Because that's not what happened. And somebody turns around and says, well, so-and-so attacked so-and-so. And I go, I was there. I didn't see any attacking. Do you know what I mean? So, but that becomes, your memories become distorted based on your beliefs and based on what you're looking at. And your attachments and awareness, all of that, those aversions start showing up in ways, as I explained to you, can happen from having that way of being. So at the end of the day, what we're going to look at is that your loss of these illusions and the discovery of your identity, your true identity, though it might be painful at first, because I want to be honest, it doesn't feel good when you actually are honest with yourself. But here's the key. Quantum living and what we teach here is not therapy. You may want to seek therapy if you need to, but quantum living is about awareness. Any 12-step program will tell you you cannot fix what you don't know you need to fix, right? So tonight, it's about uncovering all of those beliefs and those shadows, because once you actually ultimately can look through that pain, get through the pain first, it can actually be a really exhilarating and a really strengthening experience to get rid of them. Because we know here at Spiritual Life Center, we do many beautiful rituals. Two of my favorites are one at the end of the year with the burning bowl, where we get to release those limiting beliefs. Every year I love to do that, and we burn it away, and then we start with the next week the stone ceremony to actually replace it. But what do you do for the other 363 days a year, right? So we have that opportunity to take those limiting beliefs, and what if we actually got to get rid of them, right? Write them down and get rid of them and throw them out. Maybe you think that's the way to do it. Just burn it up in a flash. But the reality is they are a part of you. So tonight we're going to go through a segment of having you develop what we call your cue card. We're about to take the first step and develop and look at your shadows, and I'll point you out to the handout to do that. But what I wanted you to have when you walk out of this room, we'll have some practice sheets that you've been given, and then I'll give you a hard copy card if you want to keep it in your wallet or carry it with you. But we're going to actually look at what our shadow qualities are, and then do a little exercise to help you find the noble qualities, for you to spend a little time to figure out who you might have really truly come here to be. And you're going to recognize that there are actually two sides of the same card. There's no burning it up and getting it out, because you are that same orange, that same apple. You just want to be whole. And the things that happen to you and the trauma that happened to you is not who you are. It's about identifying those things that made you feel a sense of who you're not, gave you the sense of the inadequacy, gave you the sense of unworthy, gave you the sense of not good enough. But the truth about you is that you are all those things and much more. So when we can actually embrace it, have the awareness that we've been carrying these backpacks full of, and subconsciously and unconsciously, of things that are just not true, then we can realize that I'm sometimes act in a way that is not who I am, and I can realize the choice is I can choose to really be who I am, and I can forgive myself when I'm being who I'm not, and I can ask you to have compassion for me when I'm being who I'm not, because I want you to see me for who I truly am. It's all whole. It's the yin and the yang, right? It's like in every goodness, there's a spark of the dark. In every part of the dark, there's always a spark of the good. So I don't want you to fight your trauma. I want you to integrate it. I don't want you to feel it's something you've got to overcome and beat up and get rid of. You've got to embrace it. You've got to embrace that everything that happened to you is a part of who you are becoming, is a part of awakening you to realizing that all the bad is not who you are. All the bad does not make you bad. You are perfect, whole, and complete. So are we ready to do a little bit of diving in? All right. We are at top of the hour, so 5 more minutes. Let me explain to you this worksheet, and I'm going to point you to your handouts now. So Carl Jung, he is one of the psychologists that this work is based off, and I love this quote of his. He says, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Everything that irritates us about others. And the reality is that the Course of Miracles that we teach here, if you have it, the Course of Miracles has lesson number 5. And I love that there's so many lessons in the Course of Miracles, and that this lesson is right up there as number 5. And that lesson is, I am never upset for the reason I think. Anybody have heard that before? So you think you're really upset about this, but if you really drill down, that's just a triggering moment that really there was something underneath. And so we're going to take a look at trying to see if we can identify our shadow cards. So we purposely, the handout I want you to look at, we're going to do the first thing called the shadow card awareness. And if you want, the first handout was just a cover sheet. You can always use notes on the second side, but it's the next 2 sheets that have page numbers 12 and 13. And for now, I just want you to put aside all the other sheets of paper and just look at page 12 and 13. Have those side by side. So these should come back pretty quickly. I'm going to read to you these steps, and it shouldn't take you too long. But step number 1 is, so I'm going to show you, I'm showing the example right there. So these are the 2 sheets you'll have in front of you, if everybody has them. So in the next few minutes, you're going to take time to, number 1, from the limiting beliefs and shadow qualities that are listed on page 12 and 13, they're little boxes, and we want you to just quickly, don't spend a lot of time thinking and having stories about it, but just in general, when you are feeling triggered, or when you get upset, or when, because in those moments, that's when these belief systems are active, when your shadow qualities are active. So when you are in crisis and your buttons are getting pushed, what are some of the limiting beliefs and shadow qualities that you know you experience? And there's categories. There's some categories under love, ability, self-worth, safety, and making a difference. And if none of those are on there, if you know you definitely have something that irks you all the time, you can create other and write that on there. So the first thing, and I'll come around and show you, is that on the page 12 to 13, just kind of go through it and just take a minute and just kind of go, yeah, I feel this way a lot. I feel this way. I feel this way. And ultimately, if you want to first kind of go through it and just check off ones that really resonate, that you sometimes feel. But the key you're going to have is you're going to, and I'm going to come around and visit with each one of you to make sure you're okay in a few minutes here. But I want you to actually narrow it down to your top 6, okay? Your top 6. You spend time to check those boxes and then go back and number 1 through 6. They don't have to be in order, but just pick 6. So once you are able to do that, you're going to pick your top 6, and as it shows here on the slide, you're going to put those top 6 and you're going to transfer it onto the page 12 boxes. You're going to, on the top row, put the limiting belief, and on the bottom row, all in capital words in parentheses that are shadow qualities. So using this example with the first red one here, if you happen to choose that you feel I am unlovable a lot, then I am unlovable would be on that limiting belief box, and underneath would be the shadow of unlovable. Does that make sense? All right, so let's just take a few minutes and have you guys do that. And I'll come around Ginger and see if you need help.
Where's the positive?
I would take this out. putting your shadow beliefs onto the grid that's on page 12, the all capital words that are in brackets. The last handout that we copied for you is a cue card shadow card, one sheet. We're going to use these. I handed out the little small card, the pocket one, but don't fill that one out yet. I have extra copies if you started to, but because in this exercise, you might be changing up what your cards are as you hear it or as we have more discussion. So for now, just use the printout. So everything that you put on the shadow quality, the all capital letters, on the bottom grid, on the bottom line of the grid on page 12, on the bottom one here, where it says, "This is who I am not," go ahead and put those same capital words, your shadows, on this card as well. If you know you need any help or assistance there. Great. Let's see. We're gonna do that next. Just. All right. I'm gonna move on a little bit. So if you had that chance to then transfer those shadow qualities onto your shadow card, I just wanted to have that, just a little bit of discussion about how that process was for you. And I've got a couple of mic runners here so we can capture it for live streamers if you want. How did that feel, you guys? I know had someone kept saying over here, when are we going to do the positive stuff? When are we going to do the positive stuff? Anybody want to share what your bodily sensations or what level of stress or just any experience of what that was like to look at words and try to identify something that felt was you? You can share as little or just how you felt about it if you want to actually share and feel.
I am just going to say that it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
I mean, there's too many of those qualities. And I couldn't, very hard to pick 6.
Yeah.
I wanted to pick 12 of them. Not that I wanted to, but I saw the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really good. I know those things about myself. It's not new, but it's good to see them and write shadow words. I didn't know I'd done that.
Yeah. It's very depressing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Back there.
Just a sense of sadness.
Yes. Sadness. sense of sadness. Dawn over here.
Thanks, Lisa. I've been doing 12-step work for years and years and years, and so when I first looked at the list, I'm like, I don't feel like I can relate to any of these. And then I remember times when in the last, I don't know, a couple of years that I've had moments, and then I thought, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I clearly was able to come up with 4 of them.
Yeah.
You know, not all the time, but yeah.
And
So-
isn't that interesting? Because that's exactly right. You may not, on a day-to-day basis, you might have done a lot of great work. You actually feel good about where you are. But in those moments, if you could just, you can think of the person who just,
Yeah.
or a family member or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you can look at what they make you feel, right? And it's clear.
It's about self-honesty, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
really good. Thank you for sharing back there.
I had checked in the small, out of the lowercase print, and thought, yeah, that's right. And then I look at what was in the capitals, so that's not right.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, oh, wait a minute. Maybe that is right. And I got to rethink that.
Right? There are definitely a couple of them that you read it and you say, that's me. And then when you see what the shadow is, you're like, no, that's not me. You go through this whole denial thing of, it makes you have to wonder, whether you're going to change it or actually ask yourself, could that really be me? And that's not what I thought it was, right? It's kind of interesting. So what's any other feedback back there?
I'd like to throw up and curl up in a ball.
Oh, yeah. So I want to just honor all of you for that, because this is the goo. When we talk about wanting to go through personal transformation, somebody was, Gary Simmons is Dr. Reverend Gary Simmons, who's a co-author of this work, with his wife, Reverend Dr. Jane Simmons, and Dr. Rima Bonario. And we were talking about that, about us needing to be comfortable in the discomfort. When I teach the class, there's a slide, and it's a guru sitting on a bed of nails. And he's just like relaxing, chewing on a little leaf. And the idea becomes we have to be comfortable with going into the discomfort so we can just name it to be able to get to the other side. And unfortunately, this is the kind of work that Carl Jung will tell you, you can't go around it, you can't go under it, you can't go over it, you have to go through it. And so be comfortable in the goo. And the nice thing is, I'm here to tell you, is just like the butterfly, we are a room full of caterpillars right now. Room full of caterpillars. And all of you said, yes, you're willing to take that time to go in the chrysalis and let yourself be goo. Let yourself actually tear down and break down all the things that you're not and be in that uncomfortableness, because we are ready for all of us. We're all ready to actually come out as the butterflies, to have a new experience. But a caterpillar cannot be a butterfly unless it's willing to go through the goo. So I want to thank you for that. That's the first step. And it's the first step of all of us knowing. And there's 2 sides of it, right? There's the other side of like going, yeah, I'm all those things. And it's interesting because none of us walk around thinking those things, right? None of us do that. But it's interesting when you take a moment to make this your space and your time, then to be face to face with it and say, just between me and myself, this is really who I am. And this work is layered work. Someone was saying I have a ton of them. My sheet was full, but then I went, what are the top big ones for me? And then after you do a lot of work, I've been doing Q for almost 10 years now, quantum living, and 100%, there's some I don't resonate at all anymore with. I've done a lot of healing work, but that just made room for the other 20 to move up in rank, type of a deal. So this is the back to that big, if I said there's only one word to describe this work, it's compassion. Compassion for yourself, and then compassion for others who are in the same boat with you. Now, when we used to teach Q, we used to teach it in segments, 6 weeks, and we would get to this part, and then I would say, I'll see you next week. And what I realized was next week is people would be depressed all week long, and then they wouldn't come back. So we don't do that ever again. We are not going to leave you in the land of the shadow, because it's time for us to actually look at, life is against us when we're being that false identity. So it's time for us to actually look at who have you come here to be. If, in fact, you've recognized those as a way of being, that you recognize that those are beliefs that resonate with you, or they are thoughts. Remember, beliefs are just thoughts that you keep thinking. So those are beliefs that you have maybe about yourself. Well, if that's not you, who have you come here to be? So that's what that next exercise is about. It's time for you to reclaim that power of creativity, because it's interesting that our unity principles, number 3 is our thoughts create our reality. So what kind of reality are we thinking if in our subconscious and even our conscious thinking that those words and those phrases you have identified is the world you're actually living? Because we're that powerful. If I keep saying those things about I'm a mistake, I'm not good enough, that's the life you end up living from your own very word and the very way you show up by embodying those shadow beliefs. But it's really great when you actually do something good. You earn a degree, or you get a promotion, or you accomplish something that's your favorite hobby, and you make a new goal in a gaming, you get to a next level. Whenever we create something wonderful, we like to take credit for it, don't we? We were like, I worked hard at that, I put in the time, and I created that. But when things go bad in our lives, we don't really want to have any ownership of it, right? It's easier to blame other people on the outside for the bad things and then take credit for all the good things that we do in our life. But what if, just what if, the same creative power in your thinking could do the same? What if you could just focus more intentionally on who you are, and that same creative energy would actually begin to shift your reality? So we're going to take some time to give you that opportunity. Let's take a look. And sometimes you can't see it in yourself. So sometimes it's easier to look for role models. So what I want you to do is go ahead and take out the next exercise and the next 2 pages that were in your handout. And we're going to do the cue card worksheet, because it's time that we actually bring the shadow into the light. And when we bring the shadow into the light, we can actually start shifting and reformatting all that goo into more of the reality that you've come here to be. So the 2 sheets I want you to have side by side out now are the last 2 that you haven't touched yet in your handout, the cue card worksheet, and this possibilities of cue qualities. And I'm just going to read those steps 1 and 2 to you so you have an opportunity to fill this out also in the next few minutes. So number 1, there's 6 spots left on the first column under names, and I want you to pick heroes or heroines of people you admire. These could be fictional characters, these could be real, they could be dead, but just attributes and qualities that you wish for yourself. So somebody had like Captain Marvel, or somebody might have a famous author, or an astronaut, or Martin Luther King, all those wonderful individuals, again, fictional or real. So take a moment just to write down, and they could be your relatives, your grandma. It doesn't have to be famous or historical figures. It could be someone that no one else in this room even knows. But I want you to pick 6 individuals that you admire. that they have qualities that you really wish you had for yourself. And then, and this is where the second sheet might be helpful, next to that person's name, I want you to list 3 qualities, and I want the qualities to come from this list, or it can be out of your own, but 3 qualities of why you admire them. So in this example on the worksheet, it says the hero could be Superman, and you might put Superman is strong, courageous, or you can put 2-word attributes like compassionate, faith-filled, trustworthy, etc. So that's step 1, and then step 2. Once you get that filled in, and I'll let you take the time to do that, on your own, I want you to follow step 3 on the bottom, and that one just says, look at all the qualities you put up there, and if you happen to see duplicate qualities, then we just want you to circle them. Because if you maybe listed 6 people and all of them are kind people, we just want you to notice if you have any repeating words, okay? Any questions about the directions? All right, let's take a minute to do your cue card. And if you're struggling with finding actual people or characters, you can always just look at the page 16 possible cue qualities and fill in some of the boxes if there are qualities that don't necessarily have a person associated with it, but qualities that you really wish you had attributes for yourself. For those who have maybe made your way through that worksheet a little bit and identified the people and qualities and maybe circled common ones, you'll want to go ahead and pick 6 or even 7 and also transfer that to your one page. It's on the top half of the handout, page 15. Transfer your qualities that you've determined as 7 there. I know it says, we'll talk a little bit more about, even though you were identifying qualities of someone else, I just want you to pick 7 of those qualities and put them on your cue card. And I'll come around. Okay. And there are extra sheets, so you all can certainly take more of the copies if you'd like home and do a cleaner copy if you'd like, or if you decide to do a deeper dive, we'll have an actual workbook for you, and you can join us in completing it in the actual class. But we're going to go ahead and move forward just so that we can get enough time to get your debrief and have enough time to actually feel comfortable with that process. So going back to what you just did for this part of the exercise was to fill out the people and the qualities that you admire. You're going to go to the page 15 on the top half and write your top qualities right there. And I want to make sure you have at least a couple of them. If you just didn't have time, it's okay. You don't have to fill them out, but at least see if you can have on your one sheet, a few of the qualities that you like, and then your shadow beliefs. So what we're going to do now is I want you to, on that piece of paper or even on the little cue card, which will be your walkaway, this is the format for how we do our cue card check-ins. Now, at Spiritual Life Center, our entire board, our staff, whenever we have a staff meeting, we actually start every staff meeting with a cue card check-in. So our staff meetings will always start with, please have compassion for me when I am being. And all of us have our regular cue cards, which is just the stuff that we're working with. But also we've fallen into the habit of, we all know we're going to have a check-in right before we get into our Zoom call. And so a lot of us, including me, will actually get centered. We read the daily word, and then I get centered for a second, and I actually feel in my body, how am I feeling in this moment? Sometimes I'm really happy, so there's not a whole lot. Then I just kind of reflect back into my cue card that when I'm not feeling in a good space, I know these are the little buggers who come out to play. But other days, I'm already triggered before I even come into staff meeting. So other days I might be, please have compassion for me when I'm tired and I'm judgmental and I'm disappointed and I'm angry and I'm frustrated. So we all actually, as a team, check in with where we are before we have our meeting. But then we say, because I've come here to be, and we read our cue qualities, the ones that I know innately I wish to embody. I can get to the end of my lifetime at that first sheet and say, if I could live my life this way and these qualities, I'm going to have a great experience. Why is that important? Why would we start by saying, please have compassion for me? Well, one, it's a lot of information for your other team members. There's been more than one time when I might have thought I need to bring up something to so-and-so, and that person in that moment is saying very clearly, very raw, very authentically where they are in that moment. I'm overwhelmed in this moment, and I'm tired and I'm fatigued. It gives me information to go, today may not be the day, or now may not be the moment I need to bring up A, B, C. I might wait till they have slept more than 2 hours. Does that make sense? And if in that meeting we're having a conversation and they're identified, have compassion for me when I'm being irritated and judgmental and angry, and in the meeting they show up as irritated, judgmental, and angry, what did they ask from every one of us at the beginning of the meeting? Yeah. And they told us who they came here to be, and we all hold that. And that's not a little thing. That's being honest with everyone in the room, what you need. I need compassion, and I'm not my best today. And I know everyone in this room has seen me at my best, or at least even sees me better than I see me, right? And I'm just asking you to have compassion for me. And you know what we all say when we do this process? We say, please have compassion. You say, because I've come here to be. And everyone answers, and so it is. Because then we say, you are that, and I've made the commitment to give you compassion. Now, if somebody asks for compassion and then I don't give it to them, then there's an imbalance in this relationship that we created, right? Now, if somebody doesn't say it because they're just not like going to own their stuff, sometimes people don't see they're coming in because you don't see yourself very well, right? That's why it's wonderful that we get to be amazing mirrors for each other. And that's what being in this spiritual community will be. I wish there would almost be like the sign. We got the butterflies already that explain in the rainbow out in the courtyard, but there also should be something that says, be comfortable with the goo. Because goo happens at Spiritual Life Center. Goo happens because transformation happens when we all can just be honest about our human experience. It's shared, our shared human experience. So, does anyone feel comfortable? So what we're going to do in the next second here is I want you to find at least one or two. You're going to have to get up. You've been sitting for a long time. I got up a little bit. But I want you, if you feel comfortable, if you stay seated, then you're not comfortable and you can pass. But if you're willing, it could be with just the person next to you or one other person. Close proximity, you don't have to go far. But if you would, I'd like you to at least go, if possible, to two people, two different people. And I want you to follow this format. And it's okay if your sheet isn't perfect, if it's not ready or good enough. It's not about that. It's about you claiming and speaking your words. And I know for many of you, we said, describe somebody else and then put it on the sheet. I know for some of you, you're going to go, well, wait. The words are, this is who I have come here to be. And you might be saying, and we'll talk about that after you have this exercise, you might say, well, wait, that's not who I described. I described something I want to be. I've described things I admire. But the reality in the world is, if you spot it, you got it. You can't even see a quality that isn't innately in you. You don't see it. And yet, it's scary because it goes both ways. When you see somebody else's shadow, what does it mean? You spot it, you got it. That's the ucky one. Right? That's the ucky one. That's the mirror work. And even if it's amplified, like people who know me, I'm a little ADHD, OCD, I'm a little talker. And then I meet somebody who really talks. And then I go, oh, that's how everybody experiences me. I needed to see it amplified. Right? And then I go, oh, I check, right? So let's take that time and be just a little bit. Let's just be quick. We'll see if you can you just turn your chair over to the next person and see if you can just follow this. So I know it's backwards because it's the way the thing was printed. And if you already transferred to your card, that's fantastic. But start off with the bottom. Please have compassion for me when I'm being, and name your shadow, and then say, because I have come here to be. And then when the person is done, no discussion, just say, and so it is. And then use the other person says the card back to them. Let's take a minute and see. If you don't really want to share with anyone else, raise your hand, and you would like to just do it with me, I will do it with you. So let me know. Let's go around and see at least two people, okay? Okay. Did everyone that had a chance that wanted to? Let's debrief that experience. If I can get the mics runners again. So, if you all are done, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about your experience with that. So, would anybody like to share? How did you feel? How did it feel to speak the words? Was there uncomfortableness speaking it? Did it get better after you said it 1 or 2 times? Were you surprised about the qualities you did? Did anybody say qualities that even though you admire it, you're just feeling like, yeah, no, that's a stretch for me? Do you know what I mean? So, or how did you experience, maybe if you shared with someone you know fairly well, was there any aha moments of common words or anything like that? Any feedback on the cue card exercise? Yeah, it's okay. So I'm going to have extra cards. I'll have them available for you at the end if you want to take some and work it out a little bit and do it more often, to get it, at home when you have more time to actually sit with it and maybe reconsider words or phrases. I know every time I've done this, what I have found, and it's why we had you put it just on the working sheet first before putting it on your card, was the first time I did it, I went around and then somebody would say both a shadow quality or a cue quality, and I would go, oh, I like, that's better than what I had. And I would actually shift mine because I would hear either a shadow quality or a cue quality that actually fit me better. So take that. That's fine. That's why we actually hear it, because we are beautiful mirrors for one another. It's that aspect. An experience that I will often have is also, I will say my shadow qualities or cue qualities, and the people outside, because remember, we're really good about those social masks, right? That people will go, but that is who you are, or I see you as that. So once again, that's a really great affirmation that, am I the only one who has monkey mind going in my mind? Everyone else, and I can honestly, wholeheartedly say the women of spirit who come on once a month for Saturdays know that over the course of the 8 years or 9 years I've been at SLC, going on 10, on staff, is that I have actually learned to see myself through the eyes of the loving community that is here. And that there was a time that like unlovable and misfit resonated, and for various reasons. And being in this community, I just can't really say that. I can have days where I feel lonely or misunderstood or things like that, but my felt experience in this community has helped shift this false belief that I'm not lovable. Even though I can point to a ton of stories and real experiences that created that story for me. And this community has done an amazing job of mirroring back to me my essence. Right? So tonight, what I wanted to do is really just introduce you to that. Tonight was an opportunity to say that there are these monkey mind running belief systems in our minds, and there's an opportunity for us to just be aware, to have awareness with ourselves, and a chance to actually run a little bit deeper to say, I am empowered and powerful because we believe in our unity principles, that our thoughts create our realities, but we actually can choose to think other thoughts. We also can be more authentic. There's something very freeing to actually being able to say, this is me, all of the bitten pieces out of me and all the raw and beautiful, authentic me. And in my wholeness, with all of my scars and everything else, that there is a beauty about who I am today. Does that make sense? That we are all sums of our accumulated experiences, and without them, you wouldn't be where you are. There's a lot of times, like people who would rephrase what it was a bad thing in their life. Many people who've been diagnosed with cancer or other things will tell you that it reframed for them. It changed everything. It made them reprioritize what they were doing or their stress level or their choices, because something happened in their life that made them have to think, I need to make different choices and be in a different place. So tonight I want to leave you with, oftentimes, and you know how powerful and strong our music ministry is at Spiritual Life Center. It doesn't matter what the message is, but often with the beautiful direction of Paula Mandela and our band and our songbirds, that sometimes through the power of music that resonates with us on a DNA level, that words and lyrics make a difference to hit home the message. So tonight I want to share with you this closing video by Town and Country called, King and Country, called Relate. And I will get that going for you and see how the words fit with our program tonight.
Does life hit you so hard that you've been knocked down? Have you gone too far to find the middle ground? Did they raise you so high just to pull you back down? Have you been so lost you could never be found? 'Cause I've been real, I've been fake. Been a sinner, been a saint. I've been right, I've been so wrong. Yeah, I've made my mistakes. I don't know what it's like to be you. You don't know what it's like to be me. What if we're all the same in different kinds of ways? Can you relate? We both know what it's like to be hurt. We both know what it's like to feel pain. But I think it's safe to say we're on to better days. Can you relate? Can you relate? Have you ever been left when you should have been loved? Has there ever been a time when you stayed but you should have run? 'Cause I've been real, I've been fake. Been a sinner, been a saint. I've been right, I've been so wrong. Yeah, I've made my mistakes. Now I don't know what it's like to be you. You don't know what it's like to be me. What if we're all the same in different kinds of ways? Can you relate? We both know what it's like to be hurt. We both know what it's like to feel pain. But I think it's safe to say we're on to better days. Can you relate? Can you relate? Can you relate? Can you relate? I don't know what it's like to be you. You don't know what it's like to be me. But by the grace of God, we'll see each other's heart. Can you relate?
So I want to thank you for spending this time with me to actually explore a little bit of who have you come here to be, and to also just remind you that in the words of Carl Jung, and it's why we do this work, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And I'm happy that you took the first step, by taking a look at who you've come here to be through the eyes of the quantum living. If you're interested in learning more, I'll be teaching this course for the next 6 weeks, and we'll be looking at all the different steps. The first 3 weeks, we'll be teaching you how to use a process called the quantum living process to help you when you're in those triggering moments, to help you get centered and help you show up more authentically on your cue card instead of on your shadow. And I look forward to having that opportunity to teach. We're teaching it in the daytime, 3 to 5 this time. And so for those of you who can't make a daytime, the next class will be an online, and then I'll go back to teaching evenings. So I try to teach Q 2 or 3 times a year, and this is the first time I've had people who don't drive at night ask if I would do a daytime course. So I'm happy to do that. But thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was a first step to becoming your full-blown, beautiful you. Good evening.